dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to The Rock. It's been a while since we've had cars racing here, but here we are with the XMS Elite Xfinity Series, ready to rock and rumble for 175 laps. I'm Liam Irving, joined up in the booth by Jordan Brockle. Jordan, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. It's going to be a great night of racing, and I'm looking forward to it. I think some of these guys are going to have some high tempers from, just the struggles of Coda last week and, not really giving any chance to run for the lead, as Liz Ramler decided that he was just going to check out and disappear on everybody.
I tell you what, that is a decision that every driver in the field wishes they could just make like that. But Michael Scott, Liz Ramler, got it done. Led 32 of 33 laps last week. And yeah, like you said, really didn't look back. So somebody that's hoping not to have to look back at all today is going to be Justin Opplinger, who starts from the pole. We'll go through our starting order in just a few minutes. But we're going to try to speak with the pole man himself, Justin Opplinger. As a matter of fact, I don't know if he's in any of the Discords, as if I recall, we weren't able to talk to him after his race win just a couple of weeks ago in Richmond. So we're going to go ahead and take a look to see if we can get a hold of him, but for the time being, we'll go through our starting lineup, let you guys know where your favorites are going to start throughout the course of this one. Justin Opplinger on the pole here with Jacob Jensen to his outside. Then Jacob Brower and Frank Orsini, Bryce Senesac and Austin Karp, Alan Fox, Ted Pullen, Matt Cochran, and Paul Urban round out your top 10. We move on to David Kellogg and Taylor Bertram. Alan Dobbs and Joshua Vidal, Mike Rominger and Dustin Carroll, Michael Thwaites, Brandon Storer. Rounding out your top 20 is Mike Campeggio and Michael Self. Daniel Krim and Jonathan Cogswell make up row number 11. And rounding out the field is going to be Forrest Smith, Joe Darnell, Ed Morris Sr., Todd Keir, and Josh Wren. So we've got 27 hungry drivers getting ready to take the start here. Opplinger going to lead them down over Jacob Jensen. We've seen that 64 be fast so far this season. Brower, he got himself a win earlier on, I believe, at Talladega just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'm looking for Jensen and Brower to really, put on a show tonight. Jensen being so close in the Xfinity series last week, to battling with Senesac and Alan Dobbs for that second or third spot. And then Brower, not really having a great night, and really just having I think he was one of the provisional drivers actually. But having the win basically stripped away from him, at Richmond, where he got into a contact with a lap car. This track race is different than Richmond, higher banks, but I look for him to be a strong candidate for a win here, as well as the winner from Richmond being Justin Opplinger.
Yeah, of course there are some similarities between this track and Richmond, as you mentioned. A lot more banking here, but the track shapes are relatively similar. We'll go ahead and bring back our track map and our info up here, and you can see that start-finish line spot isn't actually as accurate. It's a little bit closer to turn 4, but the track layout is very similar. The banking is obviously much higher here, up into the high teens, low 20s, compared to Richmond. That's in the, I believe, 10 to 12 range.
Yeah, and I look for these guys to, kind of be a little more on edge. It's a daytime race. Richmond was a nighttime race, a little bit cooler. They're looking at around 109, 110 degree track temp, so it's going to be a little slicker. And I look for these guys to really be on the edge of disaster all night long, trying to, one, get everything they can out of their car, and also trying to save tires at the same time. We can't do both, but we would love to be able to do both at the same time.
Yeah, that's kind of the catch-22 that we're going to find today, is go as fast as you can while saving everything you can. And saving, while we talk about that a little bit, we do have a stage break at lap number 75. So, one guaranteed caution, one guaranteed pit stop for these drivers. Everything outside of that, it's going to be up in the hands of them and their crew chiefs as the pace car gets ready to make that hard left turn on the pit lane. We are ready for action here at the Rock. Do you smell what the Rock is cooking? It's not the right rock, but it is still a damn good show as the green flag is in the air and Opplinger gets away clean. Opplinger able to get away by a couple of car lengths. Brower tried to take second place away from Jensen up on the top side. Jensen fights hard. We're going to see that top lane in 3 and 4 be very fast, but for how long?
Yeah, it's interesting to see him all the way up there already. There's probably not a lot of rubber up there. It's going to have to be worked in. I feel like it might be a little bit looser. You know how when you're up towards that wall, it's almost like you're kind of putting yourself in a wake, as we see, I believe, I can't see who that is. Michael Self already grabbing the wall a couple times.
There's trouble going around as well. The 86 machine.
I believe I heard that motor expire too.
Well, he hasn't moved yet. Take a look to see what happened to Taylor Bertram here. Oh, man. That was a very slight amount of contact. That was not heavy contact at all that sent him down to the inside wall. Obviously, heavier contact with that wall.
Yeah, and you definitely hear that motor expire there, and kind of reminds me a little bit of like Dover, where it's a little bit of a self-cleaning track. Plus, he got a little bit of a shunt there, so once he was on his way down there, there's really no chance of saving that. Not quite a lot of banking, but enough that once you're turned to the left, you're hanging on for dear life.
I will ride on board here for the last shot. Just see how quick it happens. Just like that, little bit of a shot to the door. Small amount of contact sends him into the inside wall, and yeah, we heard that motor expire. Tough break for Taylor Bertram. Going to be the first driver out of the race here after contact on the second lap of the race.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be a theme of the night. It's not a wide track coming down that backstretch, but, once they get to the corners, it's kind of a little wider. They have multiple grooves. But trying to single that line back up or even too wide it, it's not a great wide track. So, I mean, it's going to be a struggle all night.
Oh, and it definitely looks like a wide track here. We'll go ahead and take a look from our blimp camera here. And it looks like, yeah, this is a track where you can run 3, 4, maybe, up to 4 different lanes. But this track is so old, it's so abrasive. When you get out of the groove, it sends you on bumps that your car is just not set up for. Going through these corners, too, it's really tight coming up off of turn number 2 as these guys double up, getting ready to go. It really seems to tighten up coming up off of 2. It stays the track itself wide, but that groove, everybody seems to want to come up towards that wall. With the angle of the banking on the back straightaway along with that wall, you definitely see some guys riding up on it, getting onto their side like we saw Robbie Gordon and Carl Long do back in the last Cup race here.
Yeah, and you can see that all these different bumps and everything, you're not fully in control of your car. You're in control of it as far as keeping the slide under control, but if there's someone on your outside and you just happen to hit that bump in the wrong spot, you're going up into them and there's not really much you can do.
Case in point, Taylor Bertram there bringing out the first caution. Pace car gets ready to make that hard left turn once again. Opplinger jamming on the gas just a couple of times to clean off those tires one last time before taking the first restart of the day. Into the zone, he goes about halfway through. Big time tire spin for Jacob Jensen to his outside.
Yeah, and if we get a couple of these restarts, they're gonna have to really look out for worn tires on restarts, because it's definitely a lot hotter out there. You're gonna see a lot of tire slippage, and it's gonna be really hard to just keep that thing under you.
Jensen fighting hard up on the top side, going to try to utilize his run coming up off of the corner, and you can see that speed, that momentum that he gets coming up off of turn number 4. He's going to dive it in deep up on the top side. Not a lot of tracks that you can go deep up top at. Rockingham is one of them, as he's going to use up all of that racetrack that he wants to. Brower has to let off the throttle just a little bit to avoid contact there. Wisely does so and falls back into 3rd place.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see him really throw it into that corner and still get a massive drive, off corner, as we see Bauer try to go to the inside a little bit there.
Well, you've got to wonder, as we continue to watch this battle for 2nd place. Justin Opplinger, he's putting down his fastest laps of the race, but which lane is going to wear down these tires quicker? Because I think up front like this, neither one of these guys is going to want to give an inch. They're going to fight each other hard. This is going to be a true test early on to see which lane wears down those tires and which one is going to be better for tire saving as we get longer and longer into these runs.
Yeah, and exactly. You have that stage break coming, so you're going to just kind of go out here and use up your car and just kind of figure out how it, works throughout this run and see what you can get out of it, what you need to save, where you need to save, maybe running a different entry in 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4 or vice versa. So a lot of figuring out is going to be happening through this first stage and really just basically stacking that notebook.
These guys obviously, had all the time in the world to practice this week, but that doesn't give you practice in the full 27-car field. So now in this group, it's not really a pack type of race, but with different air entering the front of your car, with how many more cars are in front of you, that could definitely change the handling up. Make you have to change your line, as you see Ted Pullen now trying to look down to the inside of Senesac, but not quite close enough on corner entry. Senesac going to cut down to the bottom and get about 2 car lengths coming up off of turn number 2.
Yeah, and just like about everywhere we've been except for the super speedway, you've got to try to find where you can run the fastest and then also figure out your way to get pass somebody quicker, and really try to be comfortable in multiple different lanes and know how to run that different lane. Oh, as the 38 gets a little close to Ted Pullen there.
Yeah, that's Alan
Cool.
Dobbs.
Yeah, that's a scary. That's scary for both drivers. If Pullen's looking in the mirror for that, he's thinking, please don't touch me. And then Alan Dobbs, for sure is definitely like, please don't touch him.
Well, they get away okay. Ted Pullen going to try to look back down to the inside as he's got the 97 of Forrest Smith making that pass to his outside. Seems like the middle part of the corners on the bottom with a wide exit is going to be the fast way around right now. We're seeing a lot of guys able to use that momentum on corner exit, but running that bottom side seems to have a lot of benefit.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing a couple different guys be able to use that outside line really well. As we see Forrest Smith already going by Alan Dobbs on the outside. Oh, as they get a little close there as well. And we were able to see Jacob Jensen also running that outside line. I see Alan Fox also up there as well. That seems to be, if you know how to run it, you're going to run it good. But if you don't, you're going to have to learn quickly.
Yeah, there is not a lot of mistakes you can make here that this track is going to forgive you for. One thing.
Yeah, absolutely not.
A little bit. We'll give you a better look as we go down the back straightaway, but as they take away the safer barriers, these walls they're not quite at a 90-degree angle to the racetrack. The safer barriers definitely are through the corner. There goes Smith looking up to the top side. Forrest Smith trying to make a strong run, but you can see this wall here on the back straightaway, there's an obtuse angle, more than 90 degrees, which means if you get your wheel stuck up on that, you're more susceptible to rolling over it, riding up onto that wall, and that could cause severe damage to your race car.
An upside down
Broward.
Yeah, we see him working that outside line. Just kind of getting just enough of a run to kind of keep his tail end, ahead of the 3.
Jensen's able to get out front. He's able to get clear this time. We'll see what Broward can do in terms of mounting a charge. However, Justin Oplinger, your race leader, he's been quicker than these guys every single time across the line up until this last time around. And it wasn't that Jacob Jensen got quicker not being side by side. Oplinger ran a slower lap that time with a 25.65 compared to a 25.42 the lap prior, where Jensen's been right up at that 25.50, last time at 25.53. Take a look to see what they look like across the line this time. A 66 for Oplinger and a 60 for Jensen. So he's closing in just a little bit. 1.3 seconds is the gap. Broward just behind in third place, and Austin Karp trying to mount a charge for a podium spot. He sits in fourth.
Yeah, and I'm almost wondering if maybe Justin Oplinger just, knows that we're going to get rid of these tires, so he wants to see how long that car hangs on and how long those tires really last under, full pressure, full force, let's go, let's gun it, and kind of set himself up to, I can back it off just a hair and make this last longer, or, maybe even, prematurely, thinking of any kind of late race restart, like how much is he going to be able to push the car if we end up in, say, a green white checkered or 10 to go. It's never too early to really kind of figure out how the car is going to be, and like we said, practice is really good for that, but it's completely different once you get into a full field of 27, 26 cars right now.
Really is, and most things are kind of singled out right for the most part, single filed out. We've got a couple of battles here on the racetrack. Kilo is trying to make a pass on Thwaites here. Thwaites dives it in there on the corner entry. Looks like he's got a lot of rear brake bias in that car, Michael Thwaites in the 12. Let's ride on board with him and just see how that thing is handling.
Yeah, and you can really see these bumps. You can really see how it's kind of throwing the car around, and you're not really able to just keep it going straight. I mean, it's kind of bouncing all over the track.
He was almost all the way onto the back straightaway before he got full onto the gas. riding on the cockpit view, you can kind of see when his RPMs bounce like that. That's an indication of going over some bumps, but when you finally jet that gas out all the way, you know, it'll kind of hit and bounce. So you can see when it flusters like that, that's him feathering the throttle, playing around with it, just trying to make sure he's got the right amount of grip to make that corner exit. Made a really good pass on Matt Cochran there.
Yeah, and you can even see as he goes into the corner there, you know, he's turned to the left. And then mind you, if you're carrying too much speed, you're going to plow into the wall, you know, plow towards the wall as is. But you can hear he's not really going into the corner super fast or, you know, going in too hard. As you can see, he gets a little loose there. But you can see those bumps literally just kind of moving that car up the track. So it's almost like you've got to think of where you want your car to end up and kind of drive in just a tad bit lower, because it seems that those bumps are just going to kind of, you know, basically force you up a lane or so.
Yeah, somehow, some way, you've got to factor that into what you got going on. And, some guys that are doing a good job of that right now is Alan Dobbs looking up to the top side of Senesac. This is for 6th place.
Yeah, and you can see some of these guys are. You can see some of these guys are really making that outside work. You know, it's going to be interesting to see if maybe later in the race they get a good bit of rubber down there, if it helps or harms that outside line. But it definitely seems to be the passing line, in you know, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of guys are starting to gravitate up towards that outside lane, and now we're starting to see where they get really loose through the corners. And with those big bumps, we were riding along with Michael Thwaites, we got to see just how much those bumps affect the cars going through the corners. It takes away your chance to save the car when it starts to slide. Because, you know, if you're sliding over a bump, that's going to set the car up to react in a whole different way than you're used to. Now we see Dobbs getting down to the inside. He's trying to put the throttle down. He's a little bit loose. Trying to use up that right rear as he makes the pass, or attempts to make the pass on Forrest Smith. Almost makes contact on corner entry. Both of them slide up right next to the wall. Down the racetrack comes Dobbs, trying to keep at least half a car length of clean air to his front bumper. But Forrest Smith does a good job of covering that up. Battle heating up for 2nd place as well, just in front of these guys, as here comes Dobbs to the bottom. Not quite enough. He's not going to be able to get there. However, Brower looks to the inside of Jensen. Once again, he's on the bottom side. He's going to try to pull up and pull a slider. Not quite clear enough. He's got half a car length to go. Now he's got the bumper to go. He's going to get clear coming up off of turn number 2. We've got a new driver in 2nd place, Jacob Brower. And here comes Karp trying to steal that podium spot, that final one away from Jacob Jensen.
Yeah, and I like what Brower did there, and kind of what, you know, Austin was looking to do as well. Kind of forcing that outside line, you know, that outside car, you know, up the track, and kind of seeing, like, you know, what's his confidence? Does he feel he can hold it out here and, you know, keep it off you, or are you going to force him to kind of back off and kind of save his car? Ooh, Karp gets into the wall a little bit there. But, you know, it's you're kind of playing essentially chicken, but you're not chasing each other, you know, nose to nose.
Yeah, we saw Karp get up into the wall there just a couple of laps, or about a lap prior. He got big time loose coming up off of turn number 4, trying to make that pass on Jacob Jensen. So keep an eye on that as that car starts to struggle at this point. Justin Oplinger continues to hold on to the race lead by about 1.5 seconds now over Jacob Brower, but he's going to start entering lapped traffic here pretty soon. So you can see that tail end Brandon Stroher just in front of him. Dustin Carroll not too far off as well.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see as this run goes on, these guys are, you know, having to maybe take a page out of Doc Hudson's book and, you know, turn right to go left a little bit. You know, hang on to that slide and just kind of hope that you can, you know, manage these bumps.
Is the hope as you see the leader getting bigger and bigger in the rear view camera. Brandon Storer sits in 26th place. He's going to be the first driver to go a lap down due to, I guess, merit, for lack of a better term. The only other driver that is any laps down is Taylor Bertram, who got turned around on lap number 2 at the inside wall and unfortunately toasted that motor in the process.
Yeah, and it seems, Opplinger's not really going to have a ton of problems. It's probably going to, as we see an early taker for pit stops, probably
Dobbs is
around lap 35.
Dobbs is looking to split it. There's almost 2
Yeah,
seconds difference between the leader's fastest lap and his most recent lap.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. He is splitting this stage. I'm not sure if they can fully make it. I did not exactly check the notes on that, but I would imagine they would probably all short pit. We've seen that be a big strategy with some of these guys lately. They short pit and maybe come in for fuel on that stage, stage caution and kind of run the tires a little bit more. But definitely interested to see how that works for him. He's going to be a lap down here, but he's going to track down that leader rather quickly and possibly get that lap back before the end of the stage.
I don't think he'll have a problem getting the lap back. I just wonder if he's anticipating that everybody else is going to come in and make a pit stop here at the midpoint of stage number 1. Well, it looks like Ted Pullen, Frank Orsini, David Calo, Josh Wren. A lot of guys in the mid-pack coming in at this time around. Splitting it in 2.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Dobbs's plan there kind of, forced everyone's, brain to kind of start turning the gears, and they thought maybe that is the winning strategy, or gets me a top 10, top 5. So when you pit, there's always a chance that you kind of pull people in with you because they want to be on a winning strategy, and they know that if they stay on the same strategy as the leader, they're not really going to get anywhere. We saw it with Thwaite and Pullen. It didn't really work as well for Pullen because he did spin at Coda, but we saw Thwaite's come down right before the stage end, was the only taker on that, and ended up starting on the pole and ultimately kept himself in the top 5, from doing that short pit. And it's worth taking a look at.
Well, and now's a good time to do it when you know that you've got a guaranteed caution coming up in about 35 laps. Justin Opplinger from the race lead comes in to make a pit stop. So he's going to try to cut short Jacob Brower's run and Jacob Jensen's run to try to, undercut them, keep the lead. See when Brower and Jensen decide to come in. It seems like Brower might be looking at it this time. No.
And I mean, either way, with how many laps are still left here in the stage, I don't see maybe even really a problem for Opplinger to even catch back up to these guys and make another pass for the lead, because it's not a very large track. He's going to lose a little bit of time, lose a lap and a half or so, but he's going to be able to run down that leader, get that lap back, and being on the fresher tires and those guys being on older stuff, if they don't come down, I just see him blowing right past them anyway.
More than likely, but this is a good chance to try to figure out what your options are. So we've got almost a 3-wide battle. Dobbs with the fresh tires taking advantage up on the top side. Thwaites trying to figure out a way around. Rominger goes down. He looks to the inside on quarter entry. Nothing doing there. He's got to fall back.
Yeah, and I do see that Jensen has come down pit road, so he is at least taking that same little strategy that we've been seeing, and not quite a cut in half, maybe a little bit later than a halfway cut, but still making a choice and coming down early.
Yeah, Jensen, he's currently being scored in the 18th position as he moves up to the top side of Krim. Scott. Looks like 6 seconds between him and Justin Opplinger. He's chasing him down. Still a long way to go here in this stage.
And for someone like Brower, he might stretch this out. He's already got the a win under his belt. Now it's point hunting. He could just stay out here, try to basically get all he can get out of this car and maybe try to make a good run to the stage finish and maybe even pull off a stage win. I think,
whoa,
as we
whoa.
get Jensen inside Orsini getting a little bit of contact. Whew, 3 wide at Rockingham is not something I thought I would be seeing, and it's a little scary.
Well, especially not successfully, as now Orsini tries to get right to the back bumper of Jensen. Orsini gets a little bit loose coming up off of the corner. Jensen sits in 15th place right now. Still has 6.3 seconds separating him and Justin Opplinger. Likely going to be the battle for the stage win, with the exception of Alan Dobbs, who's got about 5.5 seconds on Justin Opplinger. He's got 15 lap older tire, rather, sorry. My graphic was incorrect. He's got 6 lap older tires than Justin Opplinger. Campeggio comes into the pits.
Yeah, and we're starting to see a lot of these guys slowly dive off into pit road, and I believe Thwaites and Brower may be the only ones that haven't pit. I think Cochran hasn't either. So not a lot of guys, that haven't made a pit stop. So if Brower's going to make that decision, I think he needs to make it quick.
I think a lot of these guys are just hoping that a caution comes out, that it gives them the chance to pit under caution, and that maybe these guys that have already made their pit stops, maybe thinking about coming back in because they've used up a lot of stuff on their tires. Krim stays out of the way here of Rominger, and here's a battle. Storer goes to the inside of Cochran. Paul Irvin in the 48. He came in under the first caution of the race. He's going to have to come in still, yeah, but he's got a lap or 2 more than everybody else.
Yeah, and he's running about a second or so slower than the guys that have came in. So he's not terribly off, but he's definitely slower than these guys. But maybe he's hoping that he can run this out and maybe kind of get those other cars to be equalized, as I see Brower has made a pit stop. But maybe these guys, their tires and everything will equalize, trying to run back down the current leader in Paul Irvin. And maybe he's hoping that they all kind of get to that where his tires are a little bit more worn, but theirs are not as fresh to where they're not running a full second faster than him.
Just don't think there's going to be enough time for that to work out. He's at about 3/4 of a second slower than the drivers who have made a pit stop. Alan Dobbs just got around Daniel Krim to take away 3rd place. He's still got 2.5 seconds in front of him, or between him and Opplinger, but Justin is coming quick.
Yeah, and I can definitely see this time definitely, slowly. I mean, I can't even say slowly. I see it rather quickly dropping off.
It's almost, it's just about within 2 seconds there for Dobbs and Opplinger, as Opplinger makes that pass, gets around Daniel Krim. He's going to come around Matt Cochran. Cochran smacked the ball pretty good there.
Yeah, Opplinger is one of the only ones that I'm seeing truly kind of hugging at least the turn 3 and 4 line. He's a little bit higher, about a lane or so up, in 1 and 2, and then pulls down to that lower line. But it seems like in 3 and 2 or 3 and 4, that last lap, he was really hugging that line, really trying to get a good drive around. But we see him kind of do that half lane, full lane off that line there.
I'd imagine you're onto something. I think he wants to hit that bottom in 3 and 4 every single time. He knows it's quicker than Alan Dobbs in front of him. He knows he's got plenty of time to chase him down and pass him. But at the same time, you don't want to do something that's going to risk your tires more so than you already have. You know what line is going to work for your tires and keep them steady throughout the course of the run. You don't want to try anything else. You just want to chase him down, doing what you're doing. And well, so far, he's done a real good job of that. 1.2 seconds is the gap between second and third. Paul Irvin, your race leader, he is going to have to pit. So this is effectively the battle for the race lead with Justin Opplinger chasing down Alan Dobbs. 0.3 of a second was how much faster Opplinger was that last time around.
And the more that I watch this line he's running, it's almost like he's taking a later apex to kind of give himself as much, drive off of the corner as possible. It's not a very wide, a backstretch. It's deceiving in my opinion. It looks wider than it is, but it seems that he is trying to kind of late apex, give himself a lot of drive off to where he can get back to the gas a little bit sooner, on his exit, and really use up all of that track.
Seems like he did a really good job of it there. It's 0.2 of a second, just about 2 car lengths separate him. Dobbs is going to try to hold that bottom. 51's going to try to cut underneath on corner exit. He's got the nose on the inside, but Dobbs tries to pull off the block on entry. There's going to be contact as they get into turn number 1. Sideways goes the 51 of Opplinger, but he keeps it straight. They go not side by side anymore, but they keep going straight coming up off of 2.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that Opplinger is really driving the wheels off of that, trying to get every little inch that he can. And honestly,
Dobbs,
this
big time loose coming up off of the corner. Tried to pull the slide job. He couldn't get up there. Got loose. Kept it off of the 51, but we've got a new race leader. Well, not quite. They're right behind race leader Paul Irvin.
Yeah, and I'm definitely thinking Irvin was looking in his rearview mirror saying, come on, guys, get into it. Get into it. Help me out here.
Leader.
Yeah, I'm wondering now if Irvin's just going to kind of hang out here. And, I mean, he's got a little bit of time, from the guys that are behind him. Not a ton of time, but enough that I think maybe he can hang on these next couple of, handful of laps and come away with some kind of stage point here.
It's definitely possible. A little correction from earlier. Stage end is at 70, not at 75 like I had previously mentioned. So my apologies for that. We are 7 laps to go in the stage right now. Oh, problems down the back straightaway. Not sure who that was.
I believe it was
Matt
Alan
Cochran?
Dobbs. Alan Dobbs catching the inside of the 14, I believe, of Ed Morris Sr. Kind of having the same thing happen to him that he had Bertram had happened to him, but maybe no. I think I'm good on that one.
Some 3 wide action getting into turn 1. Daniel Krim, the slow car, stuck in the middle, the meat of the sandwich. He doesn't want to be there. He's going to get out of that situation. Meanwhile, Fox is going to race side by side with Michael Thwaites, or rather, Thwaites is right behind him. He's side by side with Carroll. Dustin Carroll is a lap down to the 73. 5 laps to go here in the first stage at Rockingham. 1 more stage to go after this. It's going to be just over 100 laps with the caution laps included. So strategy going to change up a little bit. These guys are going to have to push it further than they have on sets of tires. And, well, I tell you what, Jordan, without the idea of a guaranteed caution, you're going to have to push it a little bit harder on these restarts throughout the course of this run.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to want to get every little position that you can and, really kind of figure out, whether your strategy was a good one or if maybe someone like Dobbs, who seems to have had a really good strategy, coming in before everybody else, kind of splitting that stage rather perfectly in half and finding himself sitting around second right now, as where we see Brower, who was originally fighting for that second and third place spot, back in, 7th place. So maybe you want to try to tag along with another driver like that and kind of try to copy his successes and kind of earn yourself a little bit more of a higher position.
I tell you what, we just before we get to the end of the stage here, coming to 2 laps to go, we saw Michael Thwaites make the pass on Alan Fox there for 11th place. Justin Opplinger, he's going to come off, take, I believe, 2 laps to go here in the stage. But thanks to everybody who's tuning in live here on YouTube. We can't thank you enough for watching us do what we do while we talk about these guys doing what they do. They do an incredible job, and we are just lucky enough to be able to talk to them. The big dog, Shane Lake, jumping up in here with a couple of chats. Beyond optimistic. That didn't look good. How we doing tonight? We're doing great. Garrett Smorrow says, let's go Fox. Let's go number 51. He just came across the start-finish line. Justin Opplinger gonna win stage number 1 here. He's waiting for the top 10 to roll across the start-finish line to get that caution. Of course, we don't stop racing until we see the yellow, and there it is. So Justin Opplinger, Alan Dobbs, Jacob Jensen, Bryce Senesac, Austin Karp, Jacob Brower, Paul Irvin, Mike Rominger, Michael Thwaites, and Ted Pullen. Sorry I cut you off there, Jordan.
No, it's all good. We saw Justin Opplinger really be able to kind of run away towards the end of that stage. I know we saw Dobbs kind of get into it with a little bit of I believe it was Ed Morris. So it would have been a little closer had that not happened, but I think Opplinger does have a really good, strategy in mind. He went roughly about 40, 45-ish laps and really kind of put it on these guys. And I think he's definitely on to something here.
A pit stop's happening up front, and I'd imagine everywhere in this field.
Yeah, I'm not passing up a chance to come get fresh tires. It's a bumpy track, and you need every bit of grip that you possibly can get.
But with that being said, we're going to let the rest of the stage sort through here. We'll go side by side. We'll be right back with the restart from the final stage.
Allow Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
Rickmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Rickmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, rickmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive oval scoring solution is here. Featuring oval playoffs, adjust drivers per round, custom number of rounds, custom playoff points, provisionals, optional win and you're in, custom playoff displays, rookie championships, optional minimum participation, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Back live here, getting the wave arounds, about ready to get the restart. And Jordan, I tell you what, if I ever get the Resurgence League going back off again, I am definitely going to be using the extreme scoring tools to get that done. That stuff would make it so much easier than doing it all manually by hand like I had to. what a great product that these guys have, and well, we get to see it in effect here, in use, live here on Sim Racing Media. Appreciate everybody tuning in live here on SRM. We're going to have 101 laps to go. Good to see you, Shane. It's called a banger at Mosport. Figured you'd check in on us. And Rockingham, you need tires. It's like Darlington in its heyday. Garrett Smarl says 73. Talk about Alan Fox in that blue 73 Walmart machine. Pace car makes that hard left turn once again. Opplinger leads him down over Dobbs and Jensen. Green flag in the air. And Opplinger gets away strong once again.
Yeah, you can see him really pull away there and kind of set sail a little bit. You know, not getting away too far, but really, we've seen restarts, you know, for the leader be a massive thing. And, you know, we see these guys playing various, you know, strategies with it where they wait to the end of the box, wait a little earlier. I know here the restart box isn't as noted, like it's not as in your face as some of the other places, but there still is one, and some of these guys are really playing with that leaving early, leaving late, you know, kind of jumping in the middle and changing up that strategy there.
Just try to find any way that you can to catch your opponents off guard, to catch your competitors sleeping. You know, and that's what Justin Opplinger did. Is he? We've got problems in the back. As Josh Wren has big contact with the inside wall. Looked like the 14 of Ed Morris Sr. almost made contact.
Yeah, and I would assume that Wren is done there. I think we also heard him expire as well.
Take a look. He's all by himself here. Oh, no. Oh, no.
It actually looks like Morris did make enough contact that it seemed to be what actually blows that motor there, but doesn't look like it did anything to Morris's car, though.
No contact.
No, it might have been just a net code or
coincidence.
something, because it seems like it didn't blow that motor until Morris passed. So
Yeah, I heard what you did there, but it might have just been a pure coincidence. It doesn't look like Morris. We'll take another look from the same angle, slow it down. But I don't think it looks like Morris has any reaction or anything like that. We'll watch it from Morris's camera. Maybe try to go on board with him here. Yeah, so you can see the 36 kind of stopping in front of him and makes the last second call to turn it right. He does hit the hood, but you don't see any crinkle or anything on that left front, so I would have to assume that netcode wasn't even registered there.
No, and like you said, it could have just been a big coincidence there, but no, I think that's just you know, being on fresher tires, cold tires, you know, not necessarily, you know, remembering essentially how you started this race and kind of pushing it like you were on older tires, and the car just kind of getting out from under you, and once the barrels are involved, you're done for.
Yeah, there is no getting out of those barrels. Thank goodness it's a simulation, though, and we don't have to sit here and wait for him to clean up all the sand and water stuff. We just get to re-rack, restack. Got this lap so lapped cars can pit and get back around, and then next time we should be getting the choose. Or the one to green. However, you know.
It always brings me back to when Matt Kenseth decided to take his car into the barrels at Dover, and it just took forever because they've got to clean those up, get them back in place, and refilled with sand, and it's just it's not a fun time.
But you know what was a fun time? Maybe not for the driver, but for us at Sim Racing Media who got to experience it, right? We were watching the Miami race from live right at the racetrack. And so I'm watching Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney battle it out, and here they come into the pits. And I'm like, he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. Golly gee willikers, Johnny, guess what happens? He didn't make it. He hit those barrels with a ton of speed, blew sand all over the pit entry, ended up ruining his day. But Jordan, you could experience that with us if, that happens again. In Miami.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Hanging out with us, working with us, and if you guys are interested in, joining the crew, learning how to do commentary and production for the online side of racing, we can definitely help you out. And I don't mean to brag, but we try to get something together for the crew at the end of every season. It's been a Miami race weekend these last couple times where we, kind of all throw down and get a little benefit from working here. But
Yeah, and I mean that's a track I've always wanted to go to. I think it's a very underrated track, and multi-groove track, and can cross it off the bucket list.
Beautiful racetrack. One of the coolest racetrack experiences I've had, just in terms of the atmosphere, chilling in the stands. Water was tough to come by, but hopefully they do better next time. Pace car makes a hard left turn. Green flag back in the air. Good start there from the 38. Didn't spin the tires too much, but not enough for Justin Oplinger. Gets away by about a car length, getting into turn number 1.
And I do want to point out, we did have a comment said, old man still got some good reflexes. Senior is a boss, from that wreck avoidance there on the front stretch.
We know Senior's a boss. Good job for him getting through that. Hasn't quite been the race he's wanted so far. We've got a battle for second heating up, though, with Jacob Jensen trying to get up to the top side of Alan Dobbs. Alan Dobbs, so far, your biggest mover of the day, though. He's up 11 spots from where he started, sitting in second place. That strategy call worked out really well for him in stage number 1.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me at all, because I feel like every race, we're calling Dobbs, we're calling Jensen, we're calling Oplinger and Brower. They find a way to always put their nose in the picture, and it's really showing that they are talented in these cars and even in the next-gen cars, because they always find themselves some way, shape, or form in the front of the field and really just show that they have a racing mind. They know what they need to make themselves better. And it's honestly so amazing to watch.
Comes Jacob Jensen cutting off the front bumper there of Dobbs, coming up off of turn number 2. He moves his way into second, 3/10 off of your race leader, and you got to wonder if Dobbs is just letting him go so he can save his tires, or maybe if Jacob Jensen just straight up got the better of him there. But Justin Oplinger pulls it out by another 1/10 of a second that lap. It's going to be tough for Jacob Jensen to pull him back in.
Yeah, but I wouldn't count any of these guys out by far. I mean, we do have a lot of racing left, but these guys will be able to, dial it in, figure out what they need, and really kind of just basically force Oplinger's hand later on once we get into some strategy calls and everything like that.
Yeah, of course, we do have pit stops coming our way. Question being, are people going to try 1 stop or 2 stops here? Just over 100 laps. 101 was how many laps we had when we took the green flag in the stage. You could theoretically make a pit stop at 33 every time. Is that going to save you enough time, though? Is that going to be quick enough to overcome the people who try to come in at right around lap 50?
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're going to see a couple people short pit, maybe try to mix it up a little, but it's really tough to really know what's going to work, as Jensen's really up on that wall this time around.
Way up next to it. Almost got into it coming up off of turn number 4, but keeps that 64 side clean, at least for now. He's really pushing that top side.
Yeah, I almost wonder if he ran a little lower in that corner, just because he was a little frightened by himself there, because he really...
I don't think he's frightened.
He's going right back up to that top line.
He's closing in on the race leader. I don't think he's frightened at all. I think he just found something he likes, and he wants to keep playing with it.
I mean, I'd put him in the territory of a Ross Chastain there, because or not Ross Chastain, my apologies, that's the Hale Millen, of a Kyle Larson, wall riding all the way around.
Did have some problems going into turn number 1. There was some smoke and skid marks there. We'll try to update you on that as soon as we figure out what happened. But right now, Jacob Jensen trying that top side, getting a nice run up off of the corner every time. Within 0.2 of a second now, 1/4 of a second of your race leader. He goes back up to the top side, and you can see Opplinger trying to change his line to combat that. Jacob Jensen gets down to the bottom side, and Opplinger did a pretty decent job of blocking off that run on corner exit.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of that where he's going to essentially force Jensen to have to make a crossover, which is going to end up putting, Jensen on the lower line going into the corner. And as we see now, that's just not going to work for Jensen. He likes this outside line. He likes running that, momentum line. So he's really going to have to try to get along.
He's getting a crazy run coming up off of turn number 2. Now Opplinger comes up. He's trying to defend. He's completely mirror driving, trying some aero blocking situations right now. It's a car length across the start-finish line. Opplinger hasn't shown this side yet today, but he is worried about the 64.
Oh, absolutely. He is terrified of that 64 right now, because when he runs that lower line, that 64 is almost dead even going into the, coming out of the corner, and just on that rear bumper.
Now they trade lines. Opplinger up top, Jensen to the bottom, middle side there. I really think this turn 2 exit, though, when 51 takes the bottom side, Jacob Jensen gets such a big run coming up off of turn number 2. Look at how close he's going to get within a car length. I think 3 and 4, he doesn't quite have what he needs to on the outside to make that pass happen. Now he's got a nice run coming up off, though. He's going to get right to the bumper at the start-finish line. Doesn't want to go to the bottom.
Yeah, and if I'm Jensen here, I'm following that 51, even if he's in my line on that upper side. I'm just running that line as high as I can, and basically I want that outside line. I want to pass out there. I want to be out there, and he just needs to try to get that nose in between him and the wall, Opplinger and the wall, and pray that Opplinger doesn't put him in it.
Well, that's going to work really well in turns 1 and 2. I think 3 and 4 is going to be a different story. Right now, Jensen tries to get down to the bottom side, tries to clean that arc, clean that exit there off. Corner, it's 2 car lengths coming down the back straightaway. And Jensen tries the bottom side, enters in almost on the yellow line. He's trying it completely different this time, trying to get clean air to the front end of that 64 and close in on Justin Opplinger in the 51. Opplinger having no part of it, though, doing a really good job of mirror driving, playing some aero blocking, if you will. I know it's a short track, but hey, we saw Denny Hamlin do it last week. Just a couple days ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, Opplinger is smart enough here to know that, he doesn't have to necessarily be faster than Jensen, to stay in front of him by taking away that high line. He just needs to be able to maintain that distance from Jensen. He's not really able to make any headway, on the bottom there, but once he gets to that high side and Opplinger goes to the bottom, Jensen's right on his rear bumper. So then you see Opplinger, hop up and play defense. And you know what they say, defense wins championships. So, Opplinger's really showing the importance of defense in auto racing.
Defense wins championships, but that happens in football. When was the last great defender to win a championship? Martin Truex didn't do it in 2018. 2019, that didn't happen either. Kyle Busch made a pass late. 2020, I think Chase Elliott might have made a pass late, if not winning the race off pit road. And I know 2021 was a race off pit road. So,
I'd give that to Tony Stewart. I would give it to Tony Stewart because he couldn't have taken his foot off the throttle and necessarily had to kind of watch where Carl Edwards was and not let Carl Edwards get close.
He came into that race behind. He wasn't defensive. Carl Edwards was defensive, and you know what? His defense didn't work. Tony won.
Look, just because you want to tell me I'm wrong about defense and it only works in football doesn't mean you can tell me I'm wrong.
Denny Hamlin, case in point. It works sometimes, but not when it matters.
I'll give it to you.
Well, thank you. That was fun. Here comes Jensen up to the top side. Once again, he's trying this top side continuously. He hasn't really fallen off a whole heck of a lot to Justin Oplinger, but Alan Dobbs has. He's almost a second off of the race lead right now. He's got Jacob Brower closing in on his rear bumper.
You know, I got to say, that really felt like a father-son argument. The father knows he's right, but the son still has to try to argue. In my case, argue that defense wins championships, but I'm still wrong.
It could win the championship. It definitely could. I'm just saying that more often than not, when it comes to auto racing, being aggressive and taking the offensive is where you want to be.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you got to kind of be the whole package with it. You've got to know when to, lay off and when to put the pressure and when to defend and when to kind of just let people by. And you got to be a whole package racer and really be a smart driver.
You got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them. Speaking of nobody wanting to fold him, here's Jacob Brower to the inside of Dobbs. These guys have been side by side for the better part of 2 laps now. Brower trying to utilize that inside lane to get around the 38. The outside, we've seen it be so strong, especially coming up off of these corners. Dobbs is going to hold on to that position. Big time loose coming up off of the corner. Brower's going to get the chance to look to the inside once again. He dives it in on the entry to corner number 3. There's contact as they get up into the corner. And I think there might have been somebody sideways up in front of these guys. We saw a little bit of smoke. TKFTRD1. Sad you're missing the race tonight, but you'll be back tomorrow. Oh, that's Ramler. Ramler, we're sad you're missing the race tonight, too. You could have gone for 2 in a row after such a dominating run last week. So, well, we'll just go ahead and ask you about it. How was the car last week? Go ahead and drop your response in the chat. Usually we like to try to talk to the previous race winner before the race, but you weren't here. Let's see if we can do it now as Brower looks up to the top side to try to take away that position once again. Got the run coming up off the corner. Going to cross him over down to the inside. Does he have enough?
Yeah, these guys are having such a hard time passing on the bottom.
Oh, Jensen's coming in.
Jensen took the words right out of my mouth. Jensen's coming down for a pit, maybe trying to pull a little bit of an Alan Dobbs there and kind of short pit these guys.
I think he's going with the 2-stopper. He's got 66 laps to go. He could split it into 2 more 33-lap segments. Interesting call from second place. But I tell you, I mean, I guess you got to be close to the leader if you're going to try something different. Dobbs got big time loose coming up off of turn number 4. Brower still trying to find a way around. The 3 is clearly the faster car right now, but there's just no way to get around that 38.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the same thing we were seeing with Jensen and Oplinger, where, the trailing car has the better line, has a better drive off, but trying to make that pass on the bottom line it seems almost impossible. I mean, we've seen people do it tonight, but most of it was a drive off the bottom really well and, side by side going down the back stretch or, through the front stretch and kind of completing that pass before they get to the corner.
Brower's got had the nose up on corner entry, but not quite enough. And I tell you what, Jordan, I'm going to end up eating my words if Alan Dobbs wins this championship by a point or 2, because he is defending like no other right now. He has got the Ryan Newman Award of the race, because that 3 car is trying every which way to get around him. Try to utilize a mistake where he gets loose, jump to the inside, nothing happens. Tries to get up to the outside when he gets a slower entry into the corner, nothing he can do. Jacob Brower has got to be getting frustrated sitting here in 3rd place behind Alan Dobbs. Going to try one more time to look down, but Dobbs blocks just a little bit to the inside. Gets the preferred entry. Can Brower take the right lane on exit? They're side by side coming up off the corner. It's Brower's best chance. A little bit of contact on corner entry.
I feel like Brower's going to have to go in like he is right now and kind of drive a little wide and kind of, slide jump,
Oh, and
contact,
they're gonna
and he's
hit.
gonna go
Around goes Brower down the front straightaway. Off of the racing surface, he comes back on. Caution is out.
You know, he tried to make a slide job work there, and it just once those bumpers were kind of hooked together, it was really hard for Dobbs to kind of back off of him. But you know what I was going to say was if Brower, I think, you know, gets under him and moves him up the track a little bit, I think he makes that pass fully there. But you know, these guys are very good at staying clean, so I don't see him wanting to really, not necessarily door him, but kind of push him to the wall. But
I think he was hoping that if he got clear, he was just going to have the position. But he was already sideways, I believe, at this point. He's coming up and he's not clear. There's contact there that sends him up. And, well, I mean, Dobbs had about 0.2 of a second to lift. And I don't know if he did or not, but that's not enough reaction time.
yeah, no, I don't think in any case there that you can necessarily lift enough to just keep that guy going straight. And, you know, luckily for Dobbs and Brower's sake there, you know, Brower was able to get it to go back to the left and just kind of spin himself out and not, you know, turn hard into that wall. So it could have ended up collecting, you know, all three there, you know, Dobbs, Brower, and Senesac, but, you know, Brower just gets turned around and gets it going again, and, you know, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, there was a touch of netcode there that caused the initial contact between the three, and sorry, yeah, there's a little bit of netcode here that you're going to notice in the center of the screen that starts the contact. I think they were going to hit either way, but there's netcode that starts it, and then, yeah, Dobbs has a split second to react. He tries to cut down to the low side and make the pass, and down comes the three.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think if maybe there isn't that little bit of netcode there, that they could have gotten away with it, and maybe Dobbs would have had like you said, a split second to make a decision, but maybe would have had a little bit more of a, you know, 2 split seconds to make a decision there to back off. Yeah, and you can even hear him there definitely playing with the throttle, definitely trying to basically hope that it sorts itself, you know, out in a good way, but unfortunate there to just ends up spinning him around.
Yeah, Brower just tries to get up where he's not enough space. That's the longest we've looked at a crash all day, and it was not a very significant crash, but, well, I mean, I guess with the running order it was.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always interesting to just see how things happen, and then, you know, as a sim racer myself, and you included, you know, we kind of look at it and we think to ourselves, like, what would I have done there, and then too, like, what could have gone differently that doesn't happen.
Right, you know, you try to think of, if I'm the one in that situation, what can I learn from it? Either side of it, and yeah, you know, I guess for me, if I'm the bottom car, I try to stay on the bottom side. If I'm the top car, I maybe recognize that the guy is going to get up and, you know, if I don't want to crash, I don't hit him. But, you know, in that situation, it did kind of seem like there was a little bit of frustration with the way that they were racing each other, and while I don't think there was anything intentional there, I do think maybe some feelings about the contact.
No, and I mean, it's just how our minds work. We want to race, you know. So we kind of can't fight that primal instinct. As the green flag's back in the air and we're back underway here. But, you know, it's one of those things where we can't necessarily just in the moment be like, I need to back off.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct there. As green flag back in the air, and everybody within the top 11 made a pit stop there. Top 12, actually. Opplinger gets away by a couple of car lengths. Alan Dobbs up off of turn number 4. He's got second place by about a third of a second. Bryce Senesac another third back. 2/10 back to Austin Karp. Mike Robinger in the 4 car. He's worked his way up 10 spots from where he started this race, hoping to make it at least one more. Best case scenario would be 4 more, though. It's Brower working his way back up through the field. Wasting no time working the bottom side of the racetrack and trying to push hard. He's gotten in front of Alan Fox, Daniel Krim, David Colo.
Yeah, and I think the person that got hurt the most by that caution, while Brower did...
caution is out once again. Problems in the back of the field. Ed Morris goes around. Brandon Storer, I believe, involved as well. Yes, heavy damage to the back end of that car. See what happened here with the 83. Oh.
It looks like the 83 just tries to get up underneath there and drive that lower line under the 8 there and try to make it work for the pass. And
hit him, got sideways, got hit from the back from the 1 car, Todd Keir. And Ed Morris locking up the brakes, falling down the racetrack, nowhere to go. Wave around cars are going to take a pit stop this time around. We're going to go ahead and step side by side one more time. We'll be right back with more incredible racing action here as we approach 50 laps to go here in the XMS Elite Xfinity Series, Season 19.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Coming back. Back live here. Green flag about to come out. Pace car makes that hard left turn. Opplinger leads him down. Green flag in the air, and he's going to get away by about 2 car lengths over Dobbs, who tries to cut the block on Senesac. Senesac gets into 3rd place clear as they're side by side for 4th and 5th.
You know, and just before we got that caution, what I was going to say is the person that I think was hurt most by that original caution was Jacob Jensen, because right before that caution, he was back around 11th or 12th place, you know, making that shortcut pit stop, and ultimately it really kind of hurt him. And, you know, Brower was able to just kind of stay right up in the top 5-ish. And, you know, I wonder if Jensen's now thinking of a different strategy here.
We'll have to see. You got to wonder if anybody can make it to the end from here. Everybody came in on that lap 114 caution. Is that going to be enough to make it to the end? I think fuel-wise, yes, but tire-wise, you might want to make a different call, and there's going to be a very small window to make that call. I've lost a lot of races, though, so I can't tell you when that window is.
Yeah, and I think we might see some people really try to drag it out and kind of try to be that guy that can do it on, you know, no more pit stops. But I think to really do any damage, I think you're going to have to come down and at least do a tire-only stop, or, you know, right sides, and kind of just work off of that.
Yeah, I think it depends on when you do it, as the caution has come out once again. Todd Keir has gone around down the back straightaway. Campeggio, I believe,
That thing is
he's got
hurting.
damage as well, and somebody else has that. Michael Self, maybe. It's another driver with heavy amount of damage there. Lost the engine. Oh, it's Darnell. Darnell's going to get sideways and come right back up in front of the 21.
Oh, what an impact.
Oh my
Same
goodness,
with the
Campeggio.
24. Oh, and again.
A lot of pit stops happening up front. Alan Dobbs comes in. Brower, Rominger, Fox, Irvin, Orsini, Calo, Cogswell, Opplinger, Senesac, Karp, Jensen, Pullen, Krim, and Vidal stay out. We're going to try to get you one more look at this from the onboard with Campeggio.
And, you know, this is where I'm starting to wonder with these pit stops, if these are going to be the guys that try to make it the rest of the race on just this stop alone, knowing that those guys up ahead of them around 7th are probably going to think about tires.
That 8 car took a lick. Riding on board with the 24, who takes a huge shot here off the inside safer barrier. Big time air. And at this point, just completely out of control. Back up front, we've got 44 laps to go, 45 laps to go. Justin Opplinger continues to lead. Bryce Senesac now in 2nd place. Austin Karp, Jacob Jensen, and Ted Pullen. Dalton Krim, Joshua Vidal, Alan Dobbs, Jacob Brower, and Mike Rominger. Alan Dobbs, the first of those drivers on fresh tires, just came in on lap 129. So he's going to have about 15 lap fresher tires than your race leader, Justin Opplinger. A couple of heat cycles and maybe 1 5+ lap green flag run on those tires could be just what somebody like Dobbs or Brower is looking for. But of course, if we get another caution, that opens the door for these guys to try to shortcut them on tires.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking here was, maybe these guys that just came down, they're really thinking that Opplinger, Senesac, and Jensen, and all these guys up here in that top 7 group are going to want to pit at some point to get those fresher tires, and maybe Dobbs is just hoping that he can get out front once these guys do make that stop, and really put a gap on them that those guys are going to have an uphill battle the rest of the race. Given if we go green the whole time, I think Dobbs could be sitting in a very good catbird seat right now.
Definitely could be. I think there's been enough caution laps as to where these guys who came in on 114, they could make it to the end if they wanted to. However, if we get another opportunely timed caution, they can make that pit stop and have a couple lap fresher tires than the drivers they're racing around. Flip this thing back over again. A lot of questions up in the air. We're going to have 43 laps to go when we take the green flag. Pace car makes that hard left turn. Jordan, take her away.
I see dives into pit road, and we are going to be back under green. We see Opplinger get a runoff, not as good as the one before as he dives into turn 1 here. We see Jensen riding at a little bit of a higher line, trying to go around the outside of Jensen. Really trying to make that outside line work. He's going to squeeze it in there. See a little bit of contact on the back there. Looks like the 26 of Vidal.
And here comes Alan Fox at 73. He's got some fans in the chat. He was getting sideways down there, pushing it on the bottom side. He's going to keep on moving forward. However, Alan Dobbs, he's all the way up to 5th place up on the outside, trying to take the spot from Bryce Senesac. Coming up off of turn number 2, not quite enough to make that thing happen there, but he's going to dive down to the bottom, touch that yellow line. Utilize those fresher tires by about 15 laps. Down to the inside of Bryce Senesac, tried to take away 4th, but I tell you what, Jordan, we've seen it so many times. Even with fresher tires, that bottom lane is just so tough to make a pass happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we see Dobbs able to kind of do a slide job there, and, Senesac thinks different of trying to cross him over there, but that lower line is very difficult to make a pass. Like, you don't see Dobbs just blowing by these guys, Oh, Prim grabs the wall a little bit there. But you don't see these guys really dive to the inside, even with fresher tires, and just, blow by these guys. They're really still having to work for that spot. And, I'm almost wondering if he's kind of using up his stuff just to get by these guys.
Yeah, that's my question, too, because it seems like, even with the case of Brower right now, it's like you can get to the guy really quick. But when it comes to passing him, that takes you a lap or two. It takes you a little bit more time, and that's going to use a lot more heat in your tires. It's going to wear your stuff out a lot more. So that could potentially be a struggle for Alan Dobbs, who sits in 4th place right now. Although he's still within 3/4 of a second of the race lead. Now looking down to the inside of Jacob Jensen. Jensen looks to the top of Carp. Nothing doing there. Carp pulls off a big block. Here comes Jensen down to the bottom side to try that crossover. Nose to nose as they enter into turn number 1 and 2. Jensen going to try to pull out that slide job, but not quite enough there to do it. Coming up off of turn number 2, Carp still has the nose up top.
Yeah, and back to that, passing underneath, it's really going to be difficult for Dobbs here. Oh, he gets a little loose on that bottom line there, has to regroup. But for someone like Jensen, who's flying on that outside line, he's going to really make it difficult for just about anybody to make a pass on the bottom over him.
He's going to do that for sure. Carp goes way down to the inside after a big moment. Comes back up the racetrack, but Senesac and Fox are able to get around him. So now Jacob Jensen in 2nd place. Alan Dobbs up in 3rd with the fresh tires. Jacob Brower in 4th just behind him. Also fresh tires on that machine.
Yeah, and I think Dobbs is having a tad bit more luck getting by Senesac there, so maybe Brower used a little bit more up. But, with these two being on the same tires, I wouldn't be surprised if Brower, becomes a little bit of a problem for Dobbs and kind of basically throwing water on Dobbs's flames of this strategy call that he has right now.
Well, here comes Jacob Jensen looking down to the inside for the race lead. You called him the biggest loser from that initial caution flag after he made the pit stop. Cautions have come his way. Big time loose down on the inside. He's going to have to relinquish that spot. Moves up in front of Alan Dobbs, but the top three are under a blanket. Side by side.
I think for Jensen.
Sorry.
I think for Jensen here, he's just going to
contact
have to
there,
work.
Dobbs!
Stop.
Got turned down to the inside. Great save by him. He's going to get out of the apron as they enter the corner, but Brower gets around him. Now he's the first car on fresh tires. Everybody under a blanket here, 1 through 3.
I really think here, though, right before that little bit of excitement, you know, I think for Jensen to really make a move, he's going to have to just ride out that top line and just basically wear out the rear bumper of the 51.
Well, Brower's trying to get up in between them and play spoiler for it. He knows he's got fresher tires, trying to hold on to that bottom. Jensen uses that top side momentum, and that's good momentum against the 51 as well, but nowhere to go with it down the front straightaway.
And, you know, I think this might end up helping Jensen, you know, because Oplinger could easily start paying a little bit too much attention to that 3 car on the inside, blocking him, leaving the door wide open for Jensen, and Jensen gets the wall.
I was just getting ready to say that Oplinger could play this out as well as he wants to, being able to block them both and play this almost like a speedway. But now here comes Jacob Brower in second place. He's got 15 lap fresher tires and not a single heat cycle to decide them. Here comes Jensen, though, back to the bottom side into turn number 3. That gives
these guys
Brower
are
the
using
chance to move up top. Big run for Brower up on the top side. He's clear for the race lead with 30 laps to go.
You know, and I'm almost wondering if you watched how much of a run Jensen was getting and just kind of took that upon himself to just try that same line, and now he can just set sail and, you know, kind of just let it work on his own.
Alan Dobbs on the same strategy as Jacob Brower, your race leader. Now he's trying to work through this traffic. Did he save more tire? Can he chase down Jacob Brower? We're going to find out. We've got just over 25 laps to go. 28 laps to go next time they cross the line. Dobbs almost hits the wall. Gets loose trying to keep it off of it. But still gets the nose up to the top side for second place. He's going to complete that pass up on the top with relative ease, it would look.
Yeah, and that strategy's looking really good for them. I think Oplinger and Jensen, they're really going to need a caution here to kind of force Dobbs and Brower into having to make another pit stop, equalizing these guys all together and forcing these 4 to kind of, you know, mix and match again. You know, even Alan Fox, who's passing Jensen now, to really just kind of force each other's hands.
Well, you know who I think wants a caution right now? That 51, Justin Oplinger. He's had the fastest car on every single restart from the get-go. Took the lead early on. Well, I mean, he started on the pole and didn't look back, but he's been fast all day. If he gets a restart from third place with an equal tire situation from the guys in front of him, he'll be one to watch. 25.
Oh, for sure. Him and Jensen both, I think, you know, if they both choose that outside line and they're nose to tail, I think they can really run that high line and just kind of become a real problem for Brower and Dobbs.
Back up front, though. Brower holds on to the race lead. Dobbs closing in just a little bit. He was half a tenth quicker that last time around. Keep an eye on the gaps up front. We know we've got the top 5 going for just a little bit way too long. Go ahead and bring the scroll back so you guys can see where your favorite drivers are all over the racetrack. The gap up front still just around 3 to 4 tenths of a second. Justin Oplinger trying to keep the top 2 under a second away from him. He's got Alan Fox, who's been mighty fast all day. He's tracking him down.
Yeah, and Alan Fox is also on that same strategy call as Dobbs and Brower, where they all came down that lap roughly 129 pit stop and, got fresh tires. And I think it's really showing to be the better choice right now.
Jumping back into the YouTube chat, haven't done that in a minute, but getting back to Ramler. Said it's a road course, nothing makes him happier than wheeling a stock car around a technical track. Unfortunately, he won't be able to be doing the rest of the season in Xfinity due to work obligations. I get that, dude. I work way too much, and that takes away from me being able to call your guys' incredible racing. So, let's just give a little silent FU to work. And, yeah. He said it was a blast. These cars are so much more fun to wheel than the next gen, and I do agree. Also said bad block with that crash. Living the dream jumps in saying, let's go, Fox. Push it, buddy. And Fox is pushing it right now. He's trying to get around the dominant driver of the day, Justin Opplinger, for a podium position. Just not quite able to get the run. He's got the fresher tires. Not quite able to find a way around that 51. Here he goes, looking up to the top side in turns 3 and 4. Cuts back down to the bottom. I think at the 73, ran that top side, turns 1 and 2. Bottom side maybe 3 and 4, but run the top to get the run that we've seen so many drivers get up off of that turn 2. I think you can get him.
Well, what Justin Opplinger's doing? He's playing
driving.
really good defense.
I knew you were
playing
going
really
there.
good defense. I know you knew it. But in all seriousness, he's been really good at defending whatever line the driver behind him. It's kind of hard to hold Dobbs and Brower. Superb drivers on fresher equipment. Opplinger, not a slouch in any shape or form, but it's hard to battle fresh tires. Fox, dominant racer as well, but he's just kind of figured out where to run to kind of keep this 73 at bay. Unfortunately not able to do that with Dobbs and Brower, but he is playing a very good defensive position right now against Alan Fox.
Speaking of Fox, Ramler just jumped in once again and said the second that 73 gets on a roll, the whole league is in trouble. Consistent, fast, and damn near unshakable. High praise from the winner of the last race by 43 seconds, but tell you what, man, I've been thinking from the get-go that 73 is somebody to watch, and keep on moving on through this season. He's going to get himself those wins. He's going to get himself up there. He's consistent. We ride on board with him now, sitting in 4th place. Still try to chase down Opplinger for a podium position. But one thing to notice is that Opplinger hasn't let these guys get away. He's actually bringing them back closer. He's running them down.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe he was saving a little bit of his stuff, waiting for their tires to kind of equalize in some way. And kind of just once he realized that he was kind of pulling them in, kind of putting the pressure on a little bit more. And to go back to Ramler's point about the 73, Alan Fox is not a slouch at all, and he's a very smart racing mind. We saw Ramler at Homestead, Miami. We saw Ramler make that quick second decision to dive down pit road. Alan Fox followed in suit and ended up pulling off the win in Miami, So he knows how to run a car. He knows what to do.
Problems down the front straightaway. Not sure who that is. Daniel Krim was involved in it. No caution. Somebody got turned down the front stretch into the grass. Looked like Daniel Krim was a part of it, but not sure who else. No caution. We'll take a very quick look as we jump back to the race lead. That could have been really bad, and there is a big crash. Caution is out. Kilo was involved. Krim, Cochran.
Wow, and that's just gonna change everything up. And I think Rambler might be right. Alan Fox might be sitting in a very good position right now.
Oh my.
I think that's the closest we're gonna get to the big one at a track like this, but that's just so much at one time.
Get a better angle of how it started with Kalo and Pullen. Kalo hits the wall, bounces off, and hits Pullen. And they just fall into the track that everybody has to go through.
Yeah, it looks like he just catches that outside wall and forces him down into Poland. And this may be a short track, but they're carrying a lot of speed into those corners. So once they started coming down that track and kind of self-cleaning itself, down into into that racing line, those guys don't have a lot of time to even try to avoid or even brake for that.
No, they don't. Wanted to watch that race off of pit road there because Jacob Brower, he won it. Alan Dobbs, Justin Opplinger got off in third. Alan Fox and Mike Rominger in fifth. But that is definitely going to be significant moving forward. We'll take another look at what happened to bring out the caution flag. Saw the initial crash up front, but everything just falling down in front of Vidal and Pullen.
Yeah, Ramler said that was Eric Almirola reenactment. If I ever saw it, rip the 15 spine. Oh, he's right.
Yeah, that's a tough landing. These cars are obviously not built to take landings, which is another reason we are glad this is a sim, because we can have crazy crashes like that don't hurt anybody. Driver stupidity is not totally a liability here. Not that we've had any of that, but we've got 10 laps to go. Ed Morris Sr. gonna try to get one of his laps back here. Multiple cars involved in that last caution with heavy damage. Likely gonna go one or more laps down. Ted Pullen, David Killow, Josh Vidal, Daniel Krim, Dustin Carroll. I believe Matt Cochran got a part of it as well. But we're about ready to double it up here and get her going here for what should be 8 laps to the green flag, or to the checkered flag rather. 8 laps of green flag racing.
Yeah, and all I can see in our future is I'm going to see these cars sideways. I'm going to see every lane used. I think we might even see a little bit of bumpers. Not anything crazy. Like I said, these guys race super clean. And, they're very respectful. They never want to clean somebody out for a win, but I think we could see some definite some elbows out here.
I'm not 100% sure that this is our final caution of the day. We've got 8
not at
miles
all.
to find it out. Jacob
Not
Brower
at
going to
all.
lead him
We're
down
going back.
over Alan Dobbs. Justin Opplinger up into third. Alan Fox in fourth. Rominger into fifth. Green flag back in the air. Brower gets away. Big time tire spin from Alan Dobbs once again up top. That's going to allow Opplinger to get up into second place. Fox looks down to the inside for third. Sideways goes Fox. That's going to give Dobbs clear space for third place. Now they're side by side for fourth with Jensen up top. He's going to go deep on the top side, as we've seen him on every single restart. He's going to make that pass happen.
Yeah, we see him winding out that top lane. And, I said if we get one of those later cautions where there's, 10 or so laps to go, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
And why would you not push at this stage in the game? Tire saving is not a factor. Meanwhile, up front, Opplinger trying to chase down Jacob Brower. Opplinger has been the dominant driver of the day. He works to the bottom side, half a lane lower.
Looks like Jensen got a little bit sideways going into that corner. Going to have to rebuild all that momentum.
That puts Fox up into 4th place. So now Rominger looking down to the inside, and here comes Irvin up top. Irvin led a couple of laps on some pit strategy, hoping to get up into the top 5 and make this race even more of something to look back on. Not quite enough to get the run up to the top cart to his door.
Yeah, really strong showing from Rominger tonight. He's one of the larger movers of the race, so it's great to see him having such a good run.
Up front, though, here comes Opplinger down to the inside. 4 laps to go, and Opplinger gets down to the inside of Brower. Brower doesn't let him hold on to that. He's going to cut down in front of him and take a little bit of momentum coming up off of the corner. It's 4 feet. It's 5 feet. It's less than a car length. This is as close as it gets here at Xfinity Racing. Coming up off of the corner, loose was Brower, but he's able to get another foot or so with 3 laps to go, just under 3 miles. And Opplinger slides up the racetrack just a little bit. You gotta think he's not gonna be too scared of using that bumper if he needs to. It's not gonna be choice number 1. Look at how close he is. He gets into the back bumper there into turns 3 and 4, slides him up the racetrack. 2 laps to go here in Rockingham.
Man, these guys are using every bit of the track, every bit of their car. They're throwing these wheels around. This is absolutely insane.
Opplinger going to get a huge run coming down the back straightaway. Dobbs is getting closer. Opplinger, where does he put the car? He's going to put it down to the bottom side. Here comes Opplinger down on the inside, coming to the white flag. Gets a little bit loose. Doesn't have the grip. They're single file once again. One final time around. Opplinger dives it in deep into turn 1, slides up the racetrack a little bit, trying to get that run coming up off of 2. He doesn't have it. He's got a car length between him and Jacob Brower. One final chance through these final couple of corners. Brower slides up off of the bottom. Opplinger gives him everything he's got, but Jacob Brower comes up off of turn number 4 to win the race. Justin Opplinger 2nd, Alan Dobbs in 3rd. What an incredible show.
Week in and week out, these guys put on a phenomenal show. I cannot tell you when none of these finishes have ever, not, like, they've always, made me excited. Like, not one has ever been a disappointment.
I tell you what, man, it just goes to show the competitive level of league racing on iRacing, but also the respect level that these guys have for each other. Because I have been in plenty of open races or official races, whatever you want to call them, where guys would have gone in full set, where guys would have just wrecked the guy in front of them. I mean, the opportunity was definitely there if you want to be, for lack of a better term, a dickhead. But, it's great to see the respect level that these guys have for each other, and Jacob Brower gets the job done here at Rockingham. We're gonna go ahead and take another look at that finish while we try to get in our podium. Justin Opplinger in 2nd. Hate to say, I can't imagine we'll get with him, but we'll see what we can get. Austin Carp had himself an off-track moment. We'll take a look at that. right, well, we've got Alan Dobbs up in here, our third place driver. Alan, I tell you what, you were one of our biggest movers of the race. You moved up 10 spots from where you started. Walk us through your day, because it seemed like you passed more cars than anybody else.
Well, it started with I put down a really slow qualifying lap because I thought there were two like there were supposed to be, but there wasn't. So, yeah, we had a very poor qualifying effort for that. I honestly feel like the green flag stop in the first stage is probably what really turned my race around the most, because I picked up, I don't know, like 6 positions or something after all that cycled through. So, um, yeah, I mean, it was a good race. We had a good run. If we would have started up closer to the front at the beginning, you know, maybe we would have had a shot at it, but we just couldn't ever find that last little bit to be faster than the front two.
Well, you definitely put on a show carving through the field like it was a Halloween pumpkin, but who do you want to give a shout out to for running so strong here today, and who helps you get it done week in and week out?
Yeah, just shout out to Nightfall Graphics, all the guys over at NCR, Ancient World Gaming, X Out Esports, and appreciate y'all for the broadcast.
Gonna break character. You're an Ancient World Gaming guy?
No, I just they sponsor the league as a whole, so you know, shout out to them.
Oh, okay. Well, big fan of
Hey,
them.
maybe
But,
maybe they won't pick me up. You know, I don't
hey,
know.
yeah. You know, you finished third up in here. Maybe, you know, keep running as strong as you do. It's a really good
Never
group.
know.
Anyways, congrats on the third place. Which team should we send you back to?
I'll get myself, buddy. Appreciate
Alright.
you guys.
Appreciate you. Now, I believe, Jordan, you should be with Justin for the first time. I believe we weren't able to talk to you after your Richmond win.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm newer to the league and I didn't know how to join the broadcast booth, but thank you for having me.
Yeah, so, we saw you really throwing it in there, giving a little bit of a bumper to Brower, really trying to make a run back. I feel like you threw everything but the kitchen sink at it. I mean, what more do you think you could possibly have done there to, kind of get to that lead?
I'm not totally sure because I mean, like you said, I did throw the whole kitchen sink at it. I was pushing really hard, but I would say that caution before. I know Alan Dobbs and Jacob pitted for tires, so they had like 10 lap fresher tires than me before we got that last yellow. So I think if I pitted with them, and then I could have been in the lead, and I never would have lost the lead spot because I think I was the fastest car. It's hard to pass here, so.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, one of the fastest cars, and I mean, I think you put on a phenomenal defensive job as well. You knew how to take people's lines away and kind of just run where they were the best, and hold them off. Doing a little bit of a late apex as well, we kind of noticed, which seemed to really work for you. How difficult is it to manage the bumps throughout this track and just kind of keep yourself from overreacting?
Yeah, it is pretty tough here. I mean, this track is really bumpy. That's why it's called the Rock. And as you said, turn 1 and 2, I was doing that late apex most of the time, is so I could have a straight line off of 2, because I know a lot of people lose it out of 2 because there's a big bump. And then 3 and 4 is really bumpy. So half the time I was like half throttle until I got over those bumps, and then I could pick it up from there.
Well, you definitely, wheeled it. You definitely were the strongest car, definitely more dominant. And, things didn't fall exactly in your way, but, you come away with a second place to back up your win last week. So, before we get you out of here, is there anybody that you want to shout out?
Yeah, first my mom and dad for actually letting me have a sim. I think my dad's watching right now, so hey, Dad. But the broadcast, you guys, thank you guys for putting it on YouTube and stuff. Gary Wells, Ed Morris for the league. It's a fun place to race, and I really enjoy it since I'm new. I've really enjoyed it so far, and yeah, I think that's about it.
All right. Well, congrats on the second place, and we'll wish you luck for next week, and we'll be seeing you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, got nobody else to bring in but our very own race winner. Jacob Brower, you got a copy?
Loud and clear.
Hey man, we're just going back watching these highlights here right now on board with the second place finisher, Justin Opplinger, but you guys had a lot of contact there. Well, not a lot, but there was one significant bumper moment there getting into turn number 3, and a lot of really good, clean racing each other there for the race win. Walk us through that last restart, and what was it like keeping that dominant car behind you?
Hard. That's about all I can say. He was really fast. Used a little bit of strategy the run before. Had a little bit fresher tires than he did. Alan and I got around him, and then with that caution, I knew he'd be there. It was really fun, though. He raced me clean, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, you had an incredible race, and you know, it was definitely had a couple of ups and downs too. You started up front, you got turned around there after a little bit of contact with Alan Dobbs. Do you have any words on that towards the mid race?
It was just hard racing. It is what it is. I mean, I don't like getting turned, but at least I didn't get any damage, so it could have been a lot worse than what it was. So.
Well, as a driver, I appreciate you not taking the bait. As a media guy, wish you would have, but no, that's
long season.
You know, no, you had a great run here today. You came home with the win. It's obviously not the first time you've seen victory lane this season with the XMS crew, but you know, who helps you get it done? Who helps you run so quick, week in and week out?
As of a couple weeks ago, this is now a solo operation. So, any teams that are listening, I am a free agent.
That means a lot coming from victory lane.
Also, just want to give a shout out to you guys for broadcasting the races. We all appreciate it. Thank you. You guys do a hell of a job.
Well, you guys do a hell of a job putting on, I mean, a show that speaks for itself. We're just lucky enough to get to put some words with it. So, thank you to you guys.
Yeah, I was really impressed tonight. I was really impressed with all the green flag race. I thought it was going to be a caution fest like Richmond, but I was wrong. So.
Yeah, overall, I think it was a blast all around, but Jacob, we're going to go ahead and let you get back and celebrate. Congratulations on winning here at The Rock.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll see you guys next week.
That's going to just about do it for us here. We'll give you our results for the day. Jacob Brower gets the job done over Justin Opplinger, your dominant driver of the day. Alan Dobbs rounds out your final podium position, and Alan Fox and Jacob Jensen finish out the top 5. Paul Urban, Bryce Senesac, Frank Orsini, Mike Rominger, and Michael Thwaites round out the top 10. Then we've got Jonathan Cogswell, Brandon Storer, Austin Karp, Dustin Carroll, and Ed Morris Sr. to round out your top 15. Matt Cochran, Ted Pullen, David Killow, Josh Vidal, Daniel Krim make up the next 5. And rounding out the field is going to be Joe Darnell, Todd Keir, Mike Campeggio, Michael Self, Josh Wren, Forrest Smith, and Taylor Bertram. Well, I don't usually do the final thoughts thing, but Jordan, that was a damn good race we got to watch there. What are your final thoughts here, and what are you looking forward to next week?
I mean, these guys put on a hell of a show. I feel like that's just an understatement with this. You know, it never misses. These guys put on a great show, hard battles, you know, and clean racing, and that right there is a true testament to just how talented these guys are. And you know, it leaves you on the edge of your seat. Like, I want more. I could sit here and watch these guys every week, even if I wasn't doing the commentary for it. I mean, it truly gives you the same kind of feeling that you would, you know, just watching on a Sunday afternoon, watching, you know, Chase Elliott and the group, you know, run for it. So I look forward to next week running at Indianapolis. You know, it's going to be a high drafting, you know, track, and I think it's going to be a great race there as well.
Indianapolis is always a thriller. Everybody here knows how much of a fan I am of Indianapolis. But yeah, we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in here live on Sim Racing Media. It's been a blast. The XMS Elite Xfinity Series, along with the Regmotech Cup Series, always put on bangers. Can't thank you enough for tuning in. And just that friendly reminder, as you guys walk through the streets of life, please don't play in traffic. Take it easy, folks.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.